Friends, first of all, let me welcome all the alumni back to the Institute once again. I must say, every alumni function conducted by Srinivasan always has some surprises. and today it was at the end. First of all, I'd like to thank also all the awardees for having come here to receive their awards. And I think in that process, they have in fact honored the Institute. The Institute really derives its reputation from its students who have gone out far and wide into the world and performed under a wide variety of circumstances. And I think in these awards that are given by the Alumni Association, we recognize a few of our students who have done very well in subsequent years. I'd like to say a few words about each one of the awardees today, because today has been a day when I have actually had some association or the other and have known each and every one of the awardees. Professor Krishnan, I have known him from the time he came back to the Institute as a faculty member. In fact, I'm mildly senior to him on the faculty, because I came a few months before he came back from IIT Bombay, where he was a faculty member. And over the years, I've had a very close association with him. I've learned many things from him, a large number of them non-academic. And I'd like to take this opportunity to really thank Professor Krishnan for all the services that he's rendered to the Institute in the many, many capacities in which he served the organization. Dr. Grover, I knew Dr. Grover really as the public face of the DAE. The DAE is a formidable organization, and to find a friendly face like Dr. Grover was always a great pleasure whenever I went for any meeting at the DAE. And I came to know that he was a student of the Institute. And in the last few years, I've come to know him even better, and we are working with Dr. Grover. In some ways, I think the Institute has a Trojan horse in every other organization in India. We have planted our students there. And I hope that very soon we will have a major collaboration instituted with the DAE, and when this happens, we will really have to thank Dr. Grover for having taken the trouble of spending many days, many weeks, and many months in trying to make these projects a reality. General Sundaram might have forgotten when I knew him, but I used to meet him in the faculty club of the Institute, where he was trying to persuade faculty to take an interest in biology. And he would talk about shining light on proteins, bacteriorhodopsin, if I remember. And I always used to wonder why someone with the title of a general was interested in biology. Because it is always very dangerous when generals become interested in biology. But I think what General Sundaram demonstrated is that irrespective of the subject in which you've been trained, you can have enthusiasm for every other discipline. And I think his enthusiasm has grown as he has aged. And I noticed that even today he was trying to draw one of my colleagues into a collaboration. So I hope that this will be true. The other two awards which have been given today, I'd like to say a few words about the people in whose names these awards have been instituted. Professor Chatterjee I saw from a distance from the day I came to the Institute. She was in fact legendary in many ways. After I became the director, I came to know Mrs. Chatterjee very well, because she would come for every meeting of the Alumni Association, and in the run-up to the centenary, I think she was one of the most active faculty members of the Institute. I gave a lecture some years ago in a very obscure place in Bangalore, and when I reached the lecture hall, I was surprised to find Mrs. Chatterjee. She had been brought there by someone, and she was seated, And I asked her, why did you come here? And she said in her own formidable way, she said, I came here to hear you speak. I have heard every other director of the Institute speak after Professor Thavan, and I want to know how you speak. And I believe that she did stamp her seal of approval after I had finished my lecture, and I was very relieved. Professor Appaji Rao. Professor Appaji Rao also I have seen from the time I came to the Institute. And I have known him as a teacher. Although I was not a student here, I knew that his impact on his students and the students who came under his spell was immense. And I think it is remarkable that his students have got together to institute this award, because I think recognizing mentors is probably one of the most important functions that the academic community can really perform. There are famous scientists who are recognized for their work, but I think many times mentors are very much more important. I'd like to congratulate the awardees. Professor M.R.S. Rao also I have known for a very, very long time, from the day he came back to the Institute. And Professor Anjali Karande also from the day she came into the Institute. And I think they have been extremely valuable colleagues who have really taken their disciplines forward and who have had a great impact on their surroundings. And I think in recognizing them, we are really honoring them for their contributions to the institution. And I must say something about alumni. Alumni have been students of the Institute. And I've always wondered about students. Because if you're a professor for a very long time, you begin to wonder about your students. And you wonder what they do, you wonder what impact you've had on them, and so on. But very recently I read something, and it's now become my favorite quote, so I will tell you about it. The physicist John Archibald Wheeler, who was at Princeton, a very well-known physicist, once asked the question, why do universities have students? And his answer was a very interesting one. He said, universities must have students so they can educate the professors. And of course, one of his students was Richard Feynman. So many times I think teachers and students become teachers later on. And I think one must think about these relationships. And I think we must also think about the relationships which alumni have with the institutions in which their early careers were fostered. Or even faculty members who have spent long years in the institution, and for everything that they have done, really it is the institution and its surroundings which are truly responsible. Finally, since you have all come back to the Institute, and like Professor Krishna, I'm really pleased to see that there are so many people in the hall. There have been days in the past when the alumni functions have been attended by very few alumni. But now I think the numbers have been growing, and I hope that this will happen. I would urge all of you to come back to the Institute, go around the Institute, and look at the ways in which the Institute is changing. I would also urge some of you to visit the campus in Chitradurga. Some arrangements can be made for you to go there and to see what the Institute might do in the future. There has been a great deal of activity over the last few years in sort of modernizing and reorganizing the buildings and structures of the Institute. And this year, the Institute has begun the undergraduate 4-year program, which is a complete departure as far as education is concerned from what the Institute has been engaged in the past century. The first students at the Institute were admitted in 1911, and now, a century later, in 2011, we have in fact embarked on a new educational program, which is an exciting experiment. I know that there will be difficulties in taking this experiment to a successful conclusion,